It's starting to make a whole lot of sense on why they wanted Tim Walz to be vice president, isn't it? I know I can't be the only one excited about the bombshells that keep being dropped in Minnesota on all of these fraudsters, but just in case you're unaware, I'm going to go over it and we're going to talk about what's going on right now. So, first, you have to know the backstory about Feeding Our Future. This was a Minnesota nonprofit involved in a major COVID 19 relief fraud scheme. They sponsored and operated 299 meal distribution sites at their peak. That's like restaurants and little food areas to give out free food. Between the roughly 300 sites, they claim that they had served 90 million meals in less than 2 years. That's an average of 120,000 meals per day between the 300 sites. So they scammed about $250 million in federal funds that are supposed to go to American people. Only about 3% actually went to food, and the food sites that they had provided no meals or small amounts of meals, like 40 a day or something like that. Mind you, those 40 meals were probably within the Somali community. This wasn't the only fraud that this community was involved in Minnesota. So we have the housing stabilization services, the autism service programs, the child care centers fraud, the PPP in general, COVID relief loans, and nonprofit grant fraud. By the way, most of these people, if not all, came over as refugees. And what do? They take away hundreds of millions of dollars away from your children's future. Nice, right? To be fair, let's look at the demographics and see how much of the Somali/Somali American community was actually involved. Starting with Feeding Our Future, we see 95% are Somali or Somali American. The housing stabilization services, 75%. Nearly 100% for the autism services Medicaid fraud. Are you guys seeing the trend? All right, let's take a quick look at the timeline. Back in March 2020, Ms. Ilhan Omar passed the Meals Act. This was a huge enabler for the fraud that happened. It loosened the rules on the meal sites, etc. So after Ms. Ilhan Omar bragged about getting this bill passed, she went and visited the Safari restaurant, which claimed to have served 5,000 children a day, but that obviously was not happening. Prior to 2021, there were reports within the government of possible fraud, big red flags that were popping up. Well, they were written off for racism. Next up, we have Keith Ellison. Ellison claims that he was just fighting for them against racism. Well, he also received campaign donations from them. Suspicious? I don't know. There was an audio that was leaked from that meeting that just resurfaced recently. Then when the feds got involved, there was FBI raids, federal indictments, charges, etc. But wait, there's more. Both Ilhan Omar and Omar Fateh both received donations from people involved in fraud cases, as did Keith Ellison. What they don't want you to know is that there were over 30 fraud complaints that were ignored against Feeding Our Future within the state. Those occurred between 2018 and 2021. So as you can see, the fraud cases were ignored, and then Omar's Meals Act passed. Well, what usually happens in these situations is people roll on each other whenever they're caught. Well, 480 employees of Tim Walz came forward. This is the X account of the 480 Minnesota state workers that came forward to talk about the fraud that was ignored by Tim Walz's government. So you can't convince me that they didn't know about this, because $2.3 million pre-2020 turned into $300 million annually. Obviously, that's a big red flag. Another issue I have is the child care centers that we're apparently federally funding, even though our American parents don't get free child care. After everything that's about to go on in Minnesota, I really hope that Minnesota gets the opportunity to start back over.